I also have to say, your last comment really brought me back to your question about Zen and why Zen and psychedelics tend to go together. There's this story in a lot of sects of Buddhism, but also in Zen, about the Buddha giving the sermon of the not self, where the Buddha makes this declaration that there is no such thing as the self. And someone comes forth to challenge him and says, "No, that's not true. Of course there's a self." And the Buddha asks this man, as he often does in these stories, questions to help him process this perspective that the Buddha wanted him to consider changing. And the Buddha asked this question, like, is the body the self? And this guy goes, yes. And then he says, well, can you will your body to change? If you say, look this way or feel this way, can you just make it so? And of course, the answer is no. And then the person says, well, the mind is the self. And he says, well, if you tell yourself to not think about something or to think about this, can you make the mind do that? And of course, the answer is no. You say, well, my emotions are myself. You say, well, if you say, can you feel this way? Or do you feel this way? Um, can you force yourself to have those feelings? And of course, the answer is no. And this goes on for a little while and hits to the end on the idea that we're experiencing a combination of causes and conditions, some of which we have control over, like who we're talking to or what we're saying, and some of which we don't, like our genetics, things that have happened to us in the past that we can't go back and change, all of that stuff. And so getting too caught up on the idea of a static self that must be molded into our image is another form of attachment in Zen that we try to recognize as a delusion. The self is constantly changing. It's constantly responding to what's happening around us. And if we want it to be a certain thing, it will have slipped through our fingers before we ever have it. I think psychedelics brought me closer to the experience of understanding attachment, even to the point of being attached to the idea of a self. I describe myself lots of ways all the time. My name is Victoria. I have this job. I really care about psychedelics and the legislation surrounding them. I am a person who worries about ethics and this and that. But when I look at any given individual situation and how I'm responding, I can't say that the way I responded when I was 12 is consistent with the way I'm responding now, which will be consistent with the way I'm responding when I'm 90. What happened to all those versions of me? Or is the self something a whole lot more amorphous? My psychedelic experiences have helped me get much more comfortable with the idea that I might not actually ever be able to answer the question, who am I, or what is myself? But that I have this awesome opportunity to experience what it means to be connected to every other being I get to be on this planet with right now. When I think about how many ants were born the same day I was, when I think about how many particles of dust existed at the same time I existed, I stand in awe of the amazing, auspicious opportunity that is a human life. And I stand in absolute awe of the opportunity to have the awareness I get to experience as a human and try to make it better for all beings. Psychedelics really tied into my Buddhism in that they made me comfortable with not getting too attached to any one specific thing being right, but constantly pursuing a better, more just, more compassionate world. And I think that, at least I hope that, is what Buddhists who have experienced that release in meditation also experience when they experience psychedelics.